Another year, another list to make about the games I played. Combine that with my whining about how I am boiling in December because I live in the Southern Hemisphere, and we already got 2 nice holiday traditions on this channel! Yay for my lack of creativity! Well, my lack of creativity and everybody else's who is making this topic for holiday. Man, what a bunch of unoriginal ass. Hello everyone, Obsidious Fan here for another special countdown for you to watch at the end of the year and Christmas. Whenever the hell you decide to watch this, the spirit is still there. On 2013 I got 2 new consoles, a PlayStation 3 and a 3DS, and while I enjoyed quite a few games last year and made a countdown about it, 2014 was an even better gaming year for me, since I got to expand on my collection on games for both consoles. And today I am here to count down the top 10 best games I played in 2014. I played a lot of amazing titles in recent times, and I am here to tell you which ones and why I enjoyed them so much. There are no standard rules for this list, any game goes, regardless of the consoles I played it on, and it's not necessary for the game to have been released on 2014, as long as I got to experience it for the first time during this year. Well, since there's nothing else to say, let's begin with number 10. I heard that's a great place to start. Remember how the No More Hero games got the number 1 on my list about the games I played last year? Wait, you don't remember? Whatever. My point is that these titles made me a good fan of Suda51, and playing one of his best games other than No More Heroes was the most sensitive thing to do. And now here we have Lollipop Chainsaw. You wouldn't expect this type of game from anybody other than Suda51. Only he is capable to take a concept as stupid and over the top as this and actually make it work in a fantastic way. In this game you take control of waifu material protagonist Juliet Starling, a stereotypical cheerleader who has to stop a zombie rampage at her school by defeating all of the zombie masters. Yeah, you can't make this shit up! Goichi Suda, ladies and gentlemen! Of course, this game never takes itself too seriously, with a lot of humor and a hilarious story, with a great cast of ridiculous yet memorable characters, with my favorite being the protagonist herself and her charm. Yeah. The gameplay is the same as you would expect from any other game by Suda51. A crazy hack and slash with an unconventional weapon, addictive combat, amazing combos, and lots of unnecessary gore. I know these types of games are not for everyone, but if you like No More Heroes, you are going to love Lollipop Chainsaw. Combine all of that with some amazing boss battles, with some of the best boss soundtracks I've ever heard in a game, and Lollipop Chainsaw is a title that I was bound to fall in love with the moment I began playing it. I actually don't own this game, but I played it at a friend's house. I don't know if this is relevant or not, but I just felt like it's something I should mention. I love platformers like Crash Bandicoot, and I also love stealth games like Metal Gear, so I wonder, what the hell did it took me so long to get into the Sly Cooper franchise? This is even weirder considering I've been a decent fan of Ratchet & Clank and a big fan of Jak and Daxter for a very long time. And these are technically brother franchises to Sly Cooper, what's wrong with me? But at the end of the day, it was worth getting into this franchise because it's just so fun. The original game, Sly Cooper and the Thievius Draconus, or however you pronounce that, was a great introduction to the franchise with fun stealth and platforming gameplay, awesome bosses and great characters, especially the Cooper gang, Bentley, Murray and Sly Cooper himself. However, Sly Cooper 1 didn't make the cut for this list. No, the number 9 spot is actually for Sly 2 Band of Thieves. This sequel took everything that was already awesome about the original game and made it even better. In this adventure, the gang has to travel around the world in order to steal the Clockwork parts, you know, after you killed him in the last game, from the Claw gang, who want to use them for their own selfish purposes. The story, as expected, is nothing too deep nor convoluted, but it manages to be interesting, especially because of the interesting characters themselves. From the Cooper gang to the great villains at the Claw gang, they are all likable and have a lot of humor to them. Except for Constable Neela, fuck that bitch. Bitch or kitty, whatever. Anyways, while the story of Sly 2 is solid enough, the gameplay is really where it's at. You play again as the Cooper gang, as you travel through the world in colorful and creative levels, doing different missions that will help you steal the Clockwork parts. You can control Sly, Murray or Bentley. They all control perfectly and have their own style of gameplay that makes up for a lot of variety. Oh, and the boss battles are very good for a platforming game. I did have a problem with the Sly 2 though, and it's the length. I don't mind long games. Most of the times a long game is actually a very good thing. But there was a point in which I felt this game was overstaying its welcome, and I just wanted to finish it. I don't know if this was just me, or more people had this problem with this game. Overall, I am starting to get into the Sly Cooper franchise. I can't wait to get the Sly 3 and, eventually, Thieves in Time, which I heard are even better games. This is a really great series and I am now a new fan. I mean, they will have a fucking animated movie! I am so looking forward to that! Now, where's my Jak and Daxter movie, Sony? Oh boy, if you ever wanted an overhated game, look no further than DMC Devil May Cry. It goes without saying, but this reboot, which is supposed to be something different and separated from the classic Devil May Cry game, gets too much hate from the fanboys who can't accept when a company tries to do something different. Oh well, to hell with those haters, because they are missing on a fantastic hack and slash game, one of the best I've played in recent times. The gameplay on this game is just so amazing. The combat is fast, dynamic and fluid, combined with the fact you can change between angelic and demonic weapons at any time, and you got one of the most badass experiences ever in a game. Too bad most of the boss fights in the game are very mediocre. While the classic DMC games focus on puzzles when Dante was not fighting, this reboot goes for an odd choice: platforming. This may sound weird at first, but the level design of DMC is actually very good and entertaining, as Dante goes through limbo, jumping and climbing with the help of his grappling hooks. It's just so fun! The story, on the other hand, is quite a mixed bag. The concept of demons invading the human world in a subtle way with capitalism is very original and all, but it can get a bit too preachy in places. But the characters are just so unlikable. I was surprised to see that Dante ended up being my favorite in the game. Of course, he's a jerk and he's nowhere near as godly as the old Dante, but he's good at making me laugh, even if sometimes it's for the wrong reasons. The rest of the characters are, however, a bunch of fucking assholes, especially Virgil. Oh god, I hate you so much. The graphics are decent and the soundtrack perfectly fits the atmosphere, even if it's not my particular favorite style of music. Overall, DMC Devil May Cry is a fantastic title that no hack and slash fan should miss, despite all of the unnecessary flack it receives. But I am sure the fanboys will come to their senses and realize how good this game is, right? Right? There was a petition sent to the White House to take DMC off the shelves. That's it. I mean, that's the way we wash our hands. Tra la 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 la. There is something special about playing a brand new Mario game. It's not easy to explain, but it brings me back to my childhood, enjoying a simple yet solid platformer in this amazing franchise. And after years without playing a new Mario game myself, I tried out 3D Land in 2014, and it was so worth it. I've been wanting to get this game ever since it was first announced back in 2012, even if I didn't even have a 3DS, and it sure didn't disappoint. Super Mario 3D Land is a unique entry in the Mario series, as it has a 3D perspective, but it plays like a 2D game, with linear levels and no health bars. instead of being an open world collectathon like Super Mario 64 or Super Mario Galaxy. And while I really like those games, I enjoy Mario more in this simpler formula. It's easy to pick up and play for hours going through colorful levels, and it's just so fun. It's not a perfect game though, the levels are short and way easier than any other Mario game in the past, but they all have some sort of gimmick that makes them unique and memorable, so I don't really mind the lack of challenge. Super Mario 3D Land was also revolutionary for the time it came out because it brought back the Super Leaf and Tanuki suit from Super Mario Bros. 3 after more than 10 years without appearing in a Mario title. That's awesome because I've always loved those power-ups, and everybody else does as well. Who can you go wrong with Tanuki Mario? Oh no. Super Mario 3D Land may not be the best Mario game ever, but I definitely enjoyed every single minute of it. If you like simple yet entertaining platformers like almost every game in this franchise, it's a must-buy for you. If you have a 3DS, of course. And considering the other Mario platformer on this handheld is New Super Mario Bros. 2, yeah, you're better off with 3D Land. Believe it or not, making countdowns for 2 years has a few benefits, even if my channel is not that popular. For example, DS and 3DS games are really expensive in my country, but luckily for me, my good friend and #1 fan known as Holucha's Wingman sent me 1 DS and 4 3DS games all the way from the USA, and I am very grateful for this. Thanks a lot, buddy! Now, I won't tell you all the games he sent, but one of them earned its spot as the 6th best game I played this year, Kid Icarus Uprising. Now, like I said many times in the past, I've actually tried this one out before on a friend's 3DS, but I was not sure if I should spend a lot of money to actually get it because I had some issues with this game, especially with the controls. But I am very happy that Holucha's Wingman sent this game for free, since I managed to get used to the control scheme way faster than I was expecting. They are still bad controls, don't get me wrong, but I got used to them, so it's fine. The gameplay in Kid Icarus Uprising is just so entertaining. Each level is divided in 2 parts. First you fly around in a shooter section full of adrenaline, and then you can fight enemies on the ground in an action section. Both styles of gameplay are fun, dynamic, and overall a blast to play, especially with the inclusion of an enormous variety of weapons and some badass boss battles. However, the gameplay in Uprising can get really repetitive and mindless at times. But this game didn't become a cult classic because of the gameplay, no. People love this game because of the characters and humor in it. I seriously didn't expect a reboot of the Kid Icarus franchise to be so hilarious. The cast of characters is just so memorable, from the lovable protagonist Pete, the cute yet bossy goddess of nature Viridi, the hilarious troll villain Hades, the badass doppelganger Dark Pete, and my personal favorite character in the game, Palutena. I mean, she's hilarious, likable, and just so charismatic. Yeah. Overall, Kid Icarus Uprising surpassed my expectations. What I originally thought was just a mediocre game actually ended up being way better than I thought it would be. Thanks a lot to Holucha's Wingman for sending these and other games to me. If you see him, tell him I say thanks. Seriously, he's going to comment in this video. He comments a lot in every single video I made. If you listen closely to the introduction of this video, you will notice that I never said anything about the 1 per franchise rule, because DMC is not the only Devil May Cry game I played this year. I finally got to try out a classic DMC game that I've wanted to play for a long time. And no, it's not Devil May Cry 2, take that shit out of here! Of course, it was Devil May Cry 4 for the PlayStation 3. After the masterpiece that was Devil May Cry 3, I've been curious to see how this game was and how it improved from its predecessor, and it didn't disappoint. First of all, the story is actually pretty interesting. Like Dante's Awakening, it's nothing deep or mind-blowing, so you can easily ignore it if you want, but if you decide to pay attention to it like I did, you will be hooked. In this game, our hero Dante has to chase after a religious order called the Order of the Sword, who praise his father Sparda as a god and try to get world domination with the help of demons. And here we have the main problem with DMC4. For most and half of the game you play as a new character called Nero. Now don't get me wrong, he's pretty cool and I love playing as him. His sword, Red Queen, is pretty awesome, and his Devil Bringer ability is a great new addition in order to make the gameplay more badass and cinematic, and Nero's relationship with Kyrie makes up for some very good emotional moments. But then you switch to playing as Dante halfway through the game and you wish the entire thing was dedicated to him. Devil May Cry 4 took the style system of DMC 3 and improved on it by letting you change styles whenever you want by the press of a button. This makes up for some really deep and entertaining combat, especially with some of the new amazing weapons that they can use, like Lucifer and Pandora. Not only that, but this is the best incarnation of Dante ever in the franchise. Charismatic, funny, cheerful and very awesome. So when you finally switch back to playing as Nero, you feel kind of bad because you want to keep playing as everyone's favorite demon hunter. Not only that, but there is a lot of backtracking when playing as Dante, which feels really lazy. So yeah, maybe Devil May Cry 4 is not a perfect game, it has quite a lot of flaws to it, but I don't care because I had just so much fun with it. The combat is fluid, dynamic and entertaining, especially with the new improvements and the amazing boss battles, as you would expect from a Devil May Cry game. This game and Dante's Awakening are the perfect formula for this franchise, and I really hope we get to see more of it in the future. I mean, I wouldn't mind the DMC2 base of the reboot, I would play that, but we would all prefer a Devil May Cry 5 from the classic series, and I really hope that Capcom delivers. Remember when a friend of mine let me borrow his Wii last year? Yeah, that was awesome. Too bad I had to give it back at the beginning of 2014. Anyways, moving on. When I borrowed his Wii, I fully played 4 great titles. The 2 No More Heroes games, which were number 1 in the top 10 games I played in 2013, The Legend of Zelda Twilight Princess, which I made a review of, and the number 4 spot on this list, The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword. Now, this will be a bit of a controversial choice because it seems that a lot, and I mean a lot of people hate this game with passion. But to quote the wise words of Dante from DMC,
makes you think I give a shit.
Like seriously, most of the complaints about the Skyward Sword are big nitpicks to me. The new motion controls, while not perfect, worked fine to me and added a lot of depth to the combat. Fi may hold your hand a bit too much, but I never found her annoying and I actually think she's a memorable character. The overworld is not empty at all, it's full of stuff to do and characters to meet, you just have to look for them. It's really frustrating to see so many people say that this amazing game is terrible when it clearly isn't. But let's be more positive, shall we? Skyward Sword has a lot of good stuff to it. To start off, the plot and characters. This has to be the most story-driven Zelda game to this day, especially because it's the first one in the timeline chronologically, so it makes an impeccable job at building the grounds for the story of the entire franchise. In Skyward Sword, you play as Link, obsidiously, a young boy in the flying city of Skyloft, and he has a very close friendship with Zelda. This was a very clever move because this may be the first time in a Zelda game in which the character is very relevant to the story and you actually care a lot for her. Link will have to save his friend by going to the world beneath Skyloft and save the world from the evil villain Girahim, who is trying to resurrect the Dark Lord Demise. The characters are all incredibly likable, memorable and have quite a lot of development to them, with my 2 favorites being the extravagant villain Girahim and the hilarious bully Gruz. However, the best part about the Skyward Sword is usually what I look forward the most in every Zelda game, the dungeons and boss battles. These are some of the most fun and creative levels I've had the pleasure to go through, and the bosses inside them were buckets of fun, most of the times. Combine all of that with a beautiful, colorful art style and a memorable soundtrack and you got yourself a game for the ages. The Legend of Zelda Skyward Sword is another solid entry in this legendary franchise, and most of the hate it gets is very undeserved. I highly recommend it as it's now a high contender for my favorite Zelda game of all time, and the upcoming Zelda game on Wii U will just be even better. Unless the stupid fans find more stupid reasons to hate on it as well. Flashback time! Currently, I am playing Peace Walker and the epicness that is Metal Gear Solid 4 is up next, so I have a lot of Metal Gear to enjoy in the next months. Well, I finally got around to play it! Yeah, there is no surprise here since I already mentioned Metal Gear Solid 4 in previous videos, but I am still very happy that I finally got to play this masterpiece. If you ask me which were the games I wanted to play the most a few years ago, I would have answered the No More Heroes games and Guns of the Patriots itself. Hell, this game is one of the main reasons I even bought a PlayStation 3 in the first place. MGS4 takes place many years after MGS2, and it's the final game in the chronological order of the Metal Gear franchise. You play as an old version of Solid Snake as he tries to save the world from the threat of Liquid Ocelot, as he wants to rule over the world with the help of
Nanomachine, son!
This game's story is massive, as it gives a final closure to every single conflict of the story, and it does it in such an impeccable way, with a satisfying ending and a lot of emotional moments. But don't worry, I won't spoil anything to you on this countdown. Gameplay-wise, Guns of the Patriots is a major improvement to the classic stealth formula of the franchise. It takes the camera from Metal Gear Solid 3 subsistence and makes the control more precise, especially when it comes to the shooting. Not only that, but the levels themselves are really unique, like the town of a country in the middle of a war, a jungle, an European suburb, and way more. Oh, and this game also has some of the best boss battles in the entire franchise, but I already talked about that in another countdown. And yeah, I did mention amazing bosses in this countdown a lot. I am sorry, but you know how much I love boss battles. Okay, yeah, maybe the cutscenes of this game are very long. Like, really fucking long. Like, it actually won a Guinness World Record for the longest cutscenes in any game. But you know what? I don't care. Every single cutscene is very interesting to watch, with a lot of awesome stuff in all of them. I am not afraid to say that I actually shed many tears while watching these cutscenes. What? This game is really depressing. Overall, Metal Gear Solid 4 Guns of the Patriots was the perfect ending for the Metal Gear franchise, even if it's not going to be the final Metal Gear game. I don't think it's better than Snake either, but it doesn't need to be. It's a fantastic experience that every fan of this franchise should try out. It would be much higher on this list, possibly even number 1, if it wasn't for the fact that I spoiled myself the entire story of this game before I even played a Metal Gear title. Yeah, I know, I'm a dumbass. 2014 was a weak year in terms of new game releases. There has been way too many titles that were hyped up by everybody but ended up as huge disappointments, like Watch Dogs, Titanfall, Destiny. Okay, I actually feel kind of bad for this last one. But Nintendo has always been there for us, and they obviously didn't disappoint with a game that has been hyped up for more than 2 years. What a fantastic game that is Super Smash Bros. 4. Before I say anything else, let me be clear. I only play the 3DS version at the moment. I am a poor fuck who doesn't has a Wii U, nor knows anybody who owns one. I am sure the console version is miles better, and I can't wait to try it out someday. But I will be focusing on the handheld version of Smash Bros. 4 for this segment, which already is so good that it can stand on its own. The roster of this game is so big and so diverse. I really love it, possibly the best in the entire franchise. All characters like Pete and Bowser received major buffs, while a lot of amazing newcomers were added into the mix, like Mega Man, Little Mac, Rosalina, Duck Hunt Dog, Bowser Jr. and the Koopalings, and my personal favorite newcomer.
It's Pac-Man, literally it's Pac-Man, and it changed the course of the gaming market when it came out because it's fucking Pac-Man.
Of course, with all these new faces, some other characters had to be cut. Super Smash Bros. 4 3DS has the perfect fighting system for the franchise. It's a balance between melee and brawl, and with all the unique character and customization in the game, I've had hours of fun alone and with my friends, whether we are in the same room or I am playing online. The online feature in SS before is really fucking good, by the way, much better than Brawl's online. To an amazing and diverse roster, we also have an amazing and diverse selection of stages to fight on. Magicant, 3D Land, Gerudo's Valley, and fucking Unova Pokemon League! They are all great stages to fight on, and if the hazards are troubling you, you can always start them off with the addition of the Final Destination modes. That was a very clever addition. I really wish I could keep talking about the Smash Bros. For the 3DS, but this game is packed with a lot of content, a lot of modes, a lot of items, a lot of trophies to unlock, etc. I am addicted to Smash Bros. 4. I play hours of it every single day, and I don't think I even unlock half of the stuff in it. I seriously recommend this one to any Nintendo enthusiast with a 3DS. Although this recommendation is pointless, as I am sure everybody already owns it as I speak. Like I said, I know for a fact that the Wii U version is better and I can't wait to try it out. I mean, Smash Bros. Brawl is one of my favorite games and I never owned a Wii. The benefits of having gamer friends, huh? Smash Bros. 4 3DS was really close to being number 1, but it couldn't beat another amazing title I first played in 2014. Let's right dive into it so you can find out. There are many games that won the recognition of being some of the best of all time. Games like Ocarina of Time, Final Fantasy VI, Snake Eater, Shadow of the Colossus and many more have reached a legendary status in the industry. On 2014, I finally managed to get my hands on another game that reached this status very recently, and it may be considered the best game of the last generation. Ladies and gentlemen, The Last of Us. Okay, yeah, maybe I am a bit late to the Last of Us party since everybody got to play it last year when it was first released. But even if it took me a while, it was worth getting this game for my PlayStation 3. Beloved developer Naughty Dog didn't disappoint with an almost perfect game that reached the hearts of many gamers, and I am no exception. Can you believe this is the same studio that created Crash Bandicoot and Jak and Daxter? Man, times sure have changed. You know your game is very deep when most people can't tell on which genre to classify it. Well, most of the times that's a sign of a good game. The Last of Us gameplay is a weird yet flawless combination of multiple genres. It has a bit of third-person survival horror like Resident Evil 4, a bit of adventure game like Uncharted, and a bit of stealth like Metal Gear. If you like any of those games, you are sure going to enjoy The Last of Us. You play as Joel. As you explore different environments in this post-apocalyptic world, you will have to collect resources and use them as your advantage in order to defeat the infected and the other survivors that want your head on a silver plate. You are not alone on this though, as you will receive help from your constant companion Ellie. Her AI is surprisingly good, as she will always be there to help you fight your enemies, healing you, or finding resources. She's one of the best video game companions I've ever seen. The Last of Us is a game full of action and very violent, but you never feel like a mindless badass mass murderer. Every single thing you do in this game has a meaning behind it, and it impacts the player in a way or another, and that's because of the fantastic storyline behind this gameplay. Yeah, didn't you think it was a bit weird that I talk about the gameplay before I mention the story on this segment? That's because the plot is the best feature in the entirety of The Last of Us. Don't get me wrong, the gameplay is impeccable, the graphics are the best I've ever seen in a game, and the soundtrack is freaking perfect. The beautiful music of this game was made by Gustavo Santaolalla. Guess from which country is he? Yeah, Argentina. In all seriousness, the plot of The Last of Us is easily one of the best in all of gaming. It's another story about a post-apocalyptic world after a zombie outbreak. Yeah, I know, it sounds generic at first, but it has a unique twist to it. People in this game get infected by a deadly fungus known as Cordyceps unilateralis, a fungus that actually exists in real life, and it takes control over the brain of its victim in different stages. Think about it as transforming into a parasite. This idea was very intelligent from Naughty Dog, and it makes the overused concept of an infected outbreak more creative and unique. Ever since the beginning, when you play as Joel and you get to see how the outbreak happens, the story of The Last of Us never gives you a break, as you have to take care of a little girl named Ellie who may be the key of saving humanity, the story develops at a magnificent pace. There are a lot of memorable moments, a huge amount of character development, and an amazing atmosphere that wraps you up in its world. The whole story of The Last of Us made a huge impact on me as far as video game storytelling goes, and it made an impact on the entire industry to support the idea of gaming as a piece of art. I mean, when did you ever see a video game being performed live in a play? Some people don't like The Last of Us, others may even call it overrated, and while I disagree with those opinions, I can respect them. If anybody watching this thinks this way, I just ask you to respect The Last of Us alongside many other games as pieces of art that made a positive impact in the entire gaming industry. While it's far from being perfect, The Last of Us is definitely the best game I played in 2014, and I seriously recommend it if you own a PlayStation 3 or a PlayStation 4. I am Obsidious Fan signing off. Feel free to tell me what you think of these 10 games in the comments, and you can even tell me which games you enjoyed during this year. Thanks a lot for all of your support during 2014, guys. I seriously appreciate every single thing that my subscribers do for me. I love you all a lot. And stick around because 2015 is going to be even better for my channel. Thanks a lot for watching. I hope you have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year.